I'm Martin Anderson in Studio B, and live Studio B sessions here on NCW are made possible by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Joined by Daryl Scott and Tim O'Brien. Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Martin.
Is it afternoon?
Well,
okay.
you know, I know you're on Central Time, so it's actually still good morning for you.
Okay.
But it's all a state of mind. What does it feel like? Morning, noon, or is it still the night
Morning.
before, maybe?
Definitely feels like morning. But good morning to you.
Good morning to you. And how are you doing, Mr. O'Brien?
I'm doing just fine.
Cool.
I see by the clock that it is afternoon. I just go by that.
Yeah.
I try to feel the same way all day long.
Oh, that's good.
How about that?
Always on that.
Always a little sleepy.
Yeah.
That means I'm always ready to just be fresh.
Oh, good.
I wake up and be fresh for you.
Well, thanks for waking up. You played last night in Asheville. How was that? The old show at the Gray Eagle, huh?
It's great down there. We had a lovely evening. And,
Yeah, it was sold out, and they've changed some things around there. So the soundboard is in the middle of the room, and you know, they fancied up some stuff here and there. It's still Gray Eagle, absolutely, but that whole little area down there is coming up in the arts and all that, and Gray Eagle's right there with it.
Yeah, they fancied it up probably just for you. Got some bling.
Well,
you know, it's cool. It's like there's a nice restaurant across the street, and you know, what was like a country buffet is now like a nice pizza, kind of, you know, slightly fancy place, I think.
Yeah, looked like
It's
good
all kinda
crust.
happening down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question: Chicago or New York style? We'll begin with that.
I don't know.
I'll take Chicago.
All right, Daryl wants
Yeah.
a Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those psychology tests. I don't know.
Oh, really?
But maybe it, doesn't mean
What's
nothing.
the thin kind? Is that the
That
New
would be
York?
the New York,
Yeah,
I believe,
like
right?
the thin kind.
Yeah, I'll take Naples over all of it, though. Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know that.
Well, I'm glad it was a good time last night. Why don't you go back there tonight and do another
Yeah,
show
we're
tonight?
going back. We've got another sold-out thing. We'll be there. We got a couple more gigs after this year. We're finishing out our run. We're going up to Roanoke, Virginia, and then Harrisonburg, and then back home for Thanksgiving.
Good.
I don't know. You going to home for Thanksgiving, Daryl?
I'm staying, in Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go both at Nashville and my country place on the Cumberland Plateau on that day. Yeah.
Cool. So these guys are wrapping up their tour, I guess, or at least taking a break for the holidays and then resuming the tour. I don't know, but a tour
Yeah.
for this collaboration of theirs.
Yeah.
Memories and Moments. Congratulations on it. It's a fine release and
Thank
long
you.
time coming for us fans of Tim and Daryl together.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
13 years, I guess.
Yeah, since a studio record anyway.
That's right.
You can follow them together on their website, timanddaryl.com. But, of course, they each have their own respective websites. And all these tunes recorded, Daryl, at your cabin in the Cumberland Plateau somewhere?
No, we were going to do that, and then just seemed like, let's just make it easy on ourselves. And so we recorded in a studio in East Nashville.
Okay.
And so we could get there, have good lunch and foods, and just go home and not have cables across the floor. And, we can make records that way. We've done that in the past, but we made it to where we could just walk in and walk out for this one.
Yeah. Well, you guys both live in Nashville, not far from each other.
Yeah.
But you, Daryl, played in Black Mountain about a year ago, or maybe less than that, half a year ago, and you said that the two of you were about to go get together to powwow over some stuff.
Yeah, and that we did collect at the cabin, my cabin, and that's actually, I think it might have been our first get together at the cabin on the Cumberland Plateau that we wrote this song, "Keep Your Dirty Lights On," and started getting a beat on how would you get back in, to make a record after 13 years after Real Time, and that was such a sort of quietly strong record for folks who have followed us. They every night doing solo shows of mine, and I think the same for Tim. People would say, "When are you guys going to do another record of Tim and Daryl?" And the time came, and we slotted it in the calendars, and here we are after a couple months of it being released. We're going around and playing like you do.
Yeah, doing what you do, doing what you do best.
Yeah.
And that tune, I bet that gets a pretty strong response from folks. It's a powerful one when you hear it on the record. And then I remember seeing a video of it pop up. I forgot where the video came from, who made it and all, but boy, it adds a whole new kind of a third dimension to it.
Hippie Jack is the one who, because he started doing video now. He's known as a documenter of the old hills ways. He's a great photographer. He's the one who really kind of edited it and put it together. We had footage coming from everywhere, but me and Hippie spent a few days just trying to put a visual to this Dirty Lights song.
Yeah. And you're from Kentucky,
Yeah.
Harlan County. Tim
Yeah.
O'Brien's from West Virginia, two of the biggest coal states. And so
The two biggest mountaintop removal states.
was there a particular event or news something or personal experience that begat this song?
Oh, I don't know. I think both of us have been aware of the phenomenon of losing these mountains and the fact that once they're gone, and it seems a heavy price to pay for turning our lights on. I like electricity. I love it.
Yeah.
But I like the mountains too. And there's no easy fix about it. So that's just kind of nice to talk about it because it's kind of invisible. Unless you're flying low in an airplane, you don't really even notice it. And, it's kind of off the track and it's kind of hidden from view. And we got to remember that we're, paying a price for this electricity.
You travel out west, but also here in the Smokies too, but especially out west where the old growth forests have been. You're driving on the road and it looks fine. Look at all the lovely trees, but what they've done is made a little buffer, and then you go through those that little thin area, and then all of a sudden you see the clear cuts. Same thing with the mountaintops.
Beauty trees,
Absolutely.
beauty lines.
Yeah.
It's funny. They don't want. I know people that have moved to the mountains of West Virginia to get away from the cities, and they don't want wind generators to ruin their view. So it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's
kind of how are you going to do this?
It's a conundrum. Well,
You're going to dump a bunch of nuclear waste in the ocean. You want to put up a bunch of solar panels in the desert. That might be good. I guess they want the wind farms out in the middle of the ocean,
maybe that's it.
where the birds can fly into them easier.
The seagulls.
Nobody wins in this. We all pay a price, I'd say.
Well, it's good fodder for songwriting anyway, and so at least we get some songs to talk about it and some books written and such. And that's what these guys do best, folks. It's Tim O'Brien and Daryl Scott. You guys harmonize pretty well. Anyone ever tell you that?
It's the way we sing. We sing harmony, I think, like we sing leads. It's kind of what the difference might be. Because harmony doesn't have to be a sort of second citizen kind of deal in terms of singing. And I love harmony that is that way, but the style of just two or three or whatever people singing out like they're singing lead is, I think, what we do. And it just kind of happens naturally. We don't plan it or do this or that, but that's what comes out.
It just sort of happens, huh?
Yeah.
And it seems like it can be particularly hard to sing lead, or maybe sing at all when you're playing the violin, the fiddle. I don't know. I would know. I haven't
Tim
tried
can
both.
do it.
But
I find
Tim
it hard
can
to
do
play the violin while I'm singing. It's more of this.
Is it? Yeah, okay.
No, it's funny. It's funny to split your brain in two on that. You sort of have to just get muscle memory going. I think you practice it enough times because it's goofy with the pitch.
He does a thing with fiddle where he'll play two parts on the fiddle and then sing the third part, the missing part. Like not very many people can do that, but Tim's got that.
That's like involves three halves of a brain. Do you have more than two halves, Tim?
This is a good question. I doubt it. I really doubt that. I haven't seen it.
It's kind of back. It's
There's
another
not space in there. I know.
There's a lot of space in there. It's something that happens in between the space. And I guess it's another psychology question. I guess
It's one of those things where it's maybe outside. In
Yeah.
between me and you, what's really happening.
okay.
The perception of it.
And what are you playing, Daryl? What have you got here?
I've got a handmade guitar from near Newcastle, England, by a guy named Stefan Sobel. And so it's what I take out these days. I have a lot of guitars, but this one's really good. It's balanced and all that good stuff that you want. And the electronics usually work in it out on the road. So it's kind of
electronics.
Yeah, it is too. I've got English electronics and English guitar. So that's what I carry around with me. Yeah, and hold down the fort with the guitar.
Yeah, cool. So the album from many years ago when you first got together, that was kind of a watershed moment, real time. It seems like to a lot of folks of fans of Americana music, although the term I don't think, or maybe it just started to get born. But Tim O'Brien and Daryl Scott, you've done so much, Tim, with Hot Rise and your own stuff with Molly O'Brien, your sister, and Daryl Scott. You'd already been pumping out some great records. It was such a great collaboration. It seemed like such a hit with folks. And folks had to wait so bloody long for you guys to do another collaboration. But in the intervening years, you did so much together. You've been playing a lot with Robert Plant and such, and various stuff.
Yeah.
And Tim, you just did a big long thing with Mark Knopfler.
Well, my run with Knopfler was a short 5 weeks, and there
Was
was
it?
actually 3 weeks of rehearsal for 5 weeks. That's that's a good ratio, don't
Yeah.
you think? But it was I was filling in for a guy on maternity leave, and it's really his wife was on leave, but he went home to be with her when the baby came. So I did the U.S. tour, and then I ducked back out of the thing and went back to my normal job of being solo artist and sometime band leader kind of thing. And then I got to do some recording with him soon after that, maybe a year or two later, for this latest one, which I guess finally just came out in the States, the
Privateering, yeah, it was like a year delay
Yeah.
from Knopfler due to whatever copyright stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys have been busy doing lots of different things, but then coming back together with this. But actually, this Memories and Moments isn't the first release from you since way back in 2000. That great live release that was recorded in Asheville, where you
we
are
recorded
for
right
this week.
there at the Gray Eagle. About 2005, 7 years ago, 8 years. 7
Yeah,
years
Yeah.
ago.
it was 2 shows for Arthur Morgan School up in near Burnsville. Benefits for them because 2 of our kids went to that school, and so we recorded 2005 a show there at Gray Eagle, in 2006, and that was that live record from last year called "We're Usually a Lot Better Than This."
Yeah. And I guess it's just a funny, humble title, your modesty showing. But actually, it was one of a lot of our favorite live releases or albums, period, from last
great.
year. It's just really well put together.
Thank you, thanks.
And then, so now, how does this one, this studio album, how does it compare to your first one in terms of the songwriting? Did you come together with kind of the songs all fleshed out and worked a little bit in your cabin, but then when you got to the studio, it was like bam, or did a lot of this come together when you hit the studio in Nashville?
Well, I think Daryl was writing all through the year a lot of stuff. A lot of these songs that ended up on the record are pretty new.
Yeah, of this stuff I brought in, they were new, because it's not like I sat down necessarily to write Tim and Daryl material, but I started noticing that some of the songs I was writing, I know, like, oh, that's going to be a good Tim and Daryl one there because of harmony possibilities or, the general roots or, kind of thing, sound to it. And so I just started, we started showing each other songs basically through emails, actually, and sending stuff back and forth to each other. We came up with a general list, and then you go into the studio and just begin. And do the first song till you got it, and then jump to the second song. And it's a pretty easy, organic thing once it gets going. And here's what we found. All we had to do was get in a room and just do the most natural thing possible, which is play and sing. And so with the success of, real time in terms of what it meant to people, there was a little worry on our parts, like, well, how do you do part 2, if you could even call that, of a record that was really kind of accidental in its first place. And really the answer was all you got to do is get in a room, and which is what we did on Real Time. We just got in a room and put it in our calendars, and the rest is actually the easiest part, is just sitting here and playing and singing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you did a little email work to do some of the bouncing off of ideas. That's interesting, to know how do you guys get together when you are doing so many other things? I mean, I guess you both have homes in Nashville, but still maybe, I don't know, maybe you just hadn't been able to see each other for years, but the emailing, Skype, I don't know if that works.
Didn't do any Skype.
We didn't do Skype.
that I can remember.
Music file sharing or anything like that.
We might
No.
have done a little video texting.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe we'll try that sometime.
Those are more like happy birthday wishes or
Yeah.
something. The video texting.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be cute. You post those on your Facebook pages.
But it was it was just about getting the dates together. Again, it's just like about saving the time.
Yeah.
Once you got the time, then everything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
just calendar research,
Right.
deep catalog calendar research. I mean, the calendar gets really messy on my part. I know it's just it gets cluttered with fly specks of this and that.
Yeah.
And you just got to be firm and say, no, we're going to make this record right then. We're not messing around with this. So I'm glad we did.
Tim O'Brien and Daryl Scott here on WNCW. They're in the area because they played last night in Nashville, and they're heading back tonight. But those 2 shows sold out pretty quickly. This area seems to be a good place for you guys. You should come regularly.
We think you guys have something to do with that. That's my theory.
Oh,
You
we
guys
like
are
your
getting
music.
it on over here.
NCW has something to do with roots music in this area. No questions asked.
I think it's always been good. Lester Flatt said, "Ain't no bad place to play in North Carolina," and but it helps to have a good linkage with WNCW.
Oh, well, thanks.
Absolutely, it's true. Yeah.
And I gotta say, Tim, you're still in it, sort of, but there, in particular, there's this period of 2 journeys, the Irish influenced one, and then you put out 2 albums after that, I guess, and kind of back to back, Fiddler's Green
Yeah.
and Cornbread Nation, and you was just like, it was bluegrass and newgrass and old time and Irish, and then that great singer-songwriter style is just kind of like, I don't know how you do. You're like a chameleon, I guess, which is another album that came out later, actually. But that
Well, it's
sounds
just
like
so much dust that you sort of sweep up into one corner,
yeah,
and then you add water,
and then boom, there
there's
you
a
go.
glob of something. I hope.
That song just seems like it came out from that glob era or something.
It is from that time, yeah, for sure. And actually, we took a hand at recording it, but I had it I kind of slightly rewrote it, and it was something about it wasn't quite right, and it just needed a little curing. Then I got it finally out again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's funny. It's just about being sleepless and getting up in the middle of the night. But then it goes into I'm going to go up into the woods, with a little hobo sack, and
It was a great song. When Tim brought that in, it was like, oh yeah, there we go. And to me, I knew it was like the first song of the record, like right away. It was like, that's how we want to introduce, this second studio record after 13 years. Because it's about the sleeplessness and things like that, but it's actually it has a spiritual quest vibe to it. And if that's not sort of what we're up to on some level, especially why would we get together after 13 years, so to speak? If that's not the sort of subject and the driving thing, I don't know what it is. So to me, it was the perfect, opening song for this record. It was like, yeah, it's as spiritual as it is, picking and grinning,
And dare I ask you to describe more what the
picking,
spiritual
grinning, and
quest
praying and
is?
singing.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Would you be able to explain more what the spiritual quest of which you seek, of which you describe?
Well, part of it is
besides
being
what's in the song.
Part of it is being this age. So 13 years ago, that's kind of significant in anyone's life, But at this age, I guess we were in the 40s when we did Real Time, and then, we had little kids, we had kids up in Arthur Morgan, for example, school, junior high age, we had little ones at home. We were married to the wives that we were married to then, and now we're not. Our kids are now in college or beyond. So, people could call things like a midlife crisis. I don't see there's no such thing. There's no difference at midlife than any other age. Change is just going to happen. And so I think that enters into our music. It has to. And it enters especially into me and Tim's music, is the idea that we're writing about stuff going on with us, So time to talk to Joseph is, time to get alone, really, to get out of the sleepless nights. And what am I going to do with this sleeplessness? I know what I'll do. I'll go on a little nature trek. And to me, that's what that song is. And that's why it was a perfect opener to me.
That's a good description. And you had John Prine with you for this album. And maybe you were able to seek a little spiritual or other advice from him, because he's a few years older than you all yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that like?
He's just such a sort of a national treasure, and to have him, to be able to call him up and say, hey, we'd like you to record, whether he says yes or no. The fact that he answers the phone, great.
Right. Yeah.
And then he came down to the studio, and he said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then he told us a bunch of stories about going back to Paradise. It's interesting. It was a good dovetail with Dirty Lights, because it's about that environmental thing where you got some resource and gives people work for a while, and then after the resources are gone, there's no more work anymore. He said everybody in Paradise, Kentucky hated him for writing that song and making it popular, and now 20 some or 30 years later, they love him for it. They love the song. It gives them a place. It puts their place on the map, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, they literally took
And
it away.
they appreciate the sentiment of it. I mean, again, that song doesn't say it's really evil what the coal company does. It just says, hey, it's gone. The town's gone.
Yeah. This is what happened.
It came with a big shovel, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the passage of time comes a new perspective, from, hey, this is horrible, this song, to, oh, hey, it shed good light on us. Is Paradise and Muhlenberg County, is that near where you're from, Daryl?
No, Paradise and Muhlenberg County is kind of central, if not sort of west,
All right.
Kentucky.
That's a heavy place in country music history, that place. That river, I guess right across the river is Ohio County, where Bill Monroe's from. John talked about that. He talked about how his aunts and uncles thought that the Monroe brothers were gangsters because they drove around in big cars and wore suits and
They wore nice
beautiful
clothes,
hats and
yeah.
stuff, and they'd just show up, kind of breeze into town and leave again with rolls of cash in their pocket. And then across the river in Muhlenberg County, that's where Ike Everly, the Everly brothers, Merle Travis.
Merle Travis, yeah.
And the common denominator was a black itinerant guitarist and fiddle player named Arnold Schultz that taught them all how to play. And he's like the real father of country music.
Arnold
Arnold Schultz. Yeah.
Schultz. Yeah.
Yeah, no known pictures of him. Bill Monroe said he had the prettiest bass runs, and they used to play dances together. And he taught a guy named Mose Rager how to play what they call the thumb pick style guitar that's so popular from there, that Merle Travis and Chet Atkins kind of copied.
Now, I read something about how the common denominator between you two is maybe Hank Williams. You all met at Hank Williams. You had that kind of
Yeah.
country
Yeah.
sound in common, and it's nice to see a Hank cover on here. And then you do George Jones as well. Otherwise, all original tunes from y'all.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I could see the Hank Williams connection, and it seems so fitting and timely to have this George Jones cover on here. This guy's the first new one I'd seen since his passing.
Yeah, and we recorded it while George was alive. We weren't trying to, we were just trying to record a great old drinking song. I mean, George didn't write many of his songs, but he wrote the one called "One More Drink" or "Just One More," I guess is the title. And I showed it to Tim, and it was like, well, I know we can harmonize this thing, and it was it was just great old style country music like the old days. Yeah.
It's a great tale to wrap up our session here on WNCW. Fiddler Jones, maybe an ancestor of Dennis Jones.
Dennis is
Sounds like it
Jones,
could
yeah.
be.
I'm certain of it.
Yeah, pretty sure. Dennis is going to look it up. Featuring with Fiddler O'Brien on the fiddle here, Tim O'Brien on the fiddle, and various other things here, and Daryl Scott on his nice guitar. Thank you guys both for coming in.
Thank you, Martin. Always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
Two shows in Asheville that sold out pretty darn quick, so that means you have to come back here pretty darn quick for some more shows.
Okay.
Please.
Sounds good.
Cool. Their new one's Memories and Moments. It's on Full Skies Records, as in Full Light and Howdy Skies, the two different labels, and you can follow them through their timanddaryl.com website. Live Studio B sessions on WNCW are made possible by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. I'm Martin Anderson, and Joe Kendrick has got your afternoon of music next.